Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I want to thank the Rabbi and Sher Zedek for having me today. I live in Toronto now, but it's always special coming back to Winnipeg. I have much of my family still here. So, as mentioned, I wrote a children's book called The Great Mensch. This was inspired by October 7th and everything that's kind of transpired since. There's been a lot of hate, a lot of misinformation, misrepresentation about the state of Israel, what the people of Israel stand for, what our community stands for. And when I started this journey to write this story and to write this book, I wanted this to be more than just a normal, ordinary children's book. I really envisioned and wanted this to be a symbol that further unified and strengthened our community. And the support and the reception that I've gotten for this has been incredible. I've been able to travel to Edmonton, Calgary, now Winnipeg, going to Vancouver, talking to different Jewish federations, different Jewish schools. I was at a non-Jewish school on Wednesday, which was pretty special, and the reception that they had for this story and bringing people together. Israel has a very special place in my heart. It doesn't explicitly say in the story, but it actually takes place in the cobblestone streets of Jerusalem. I've been to Israel 4 times. I was there a couple summers ago for the Maccabi Games, coaching Team Canada basketball. And so I wanted to put something out there that really uplifted and brought our community together. One of the underlying meanings and messages of this story is that regardless of the darkness that we face as a community, light and love can and always will shine through the darkness. So I'm going to read this story now to you. I don't know if anyone has a family member that's seen this book or has this story, but I'm going to read it to you, and then I think Rabbi has a few questions that I'm happy to answer for you all, and if anyone else has questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. So I'm going to do my best to try to show up the illustrations here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but...
I can help you with that.
Yes.
I'll do something.
Okay.
Let's pretend that...
You want me to sit here?
You won't have a mic, but I will just go through the...
Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. It's called The Great Mensch by Brayden Bernstein. In honor of the resilient Jewish community, Am Yisrael Chai. In a village with cobblestone streets so neat, lived a young mensch named Benny, oh so sweet. He had a heart that was big, a smile so wide. In the village, he was everyone's guide. Benny cared for his family, oh so dear. With love and laughter, he'd draw them near. His bubby and Zadie, aunts and uncles too, in their warm embrace, his love would accrue. But Benny's kindness didn't stop there. He spread it around everywhere. In the village, a neighbor in need, Benny the Mensch would gladly take the lead. A helping hand, a thoughtful deed. He planted love like a growing seed. One day, a storm, dark and gray, swept through the village, causing dismay. Homes were damaged, spirits were low, but Benny's compassion continued to grow. With friends and neighbors hand in hand, they rebuilt the village. Together they'd stand. Benny showed them the way with a heart so pure, to care for each other, to endure. A tradition began from that stormy weather. Mensch Day they celebrated, forever and ever. Families gathered, hearts full of cheer, spreading kindness, bringing loved ones near. So children, remember Benny, the Mensch so grand, in a village where love and kindness expand. Care for your family, friends, and others too. Be a Mensch like Benny. It's the best thing to do. The end. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. You probably caught some underlying messages in that story, quite a few metaphors. So when I was writing this story, although it is obviously a children's book, I wanted this to be applicable to all throughout the community and beyond the Jewish community as well. So, hopefully if you have any youngins in your life, maybe you have young children or grandchildren, obviously would be grateful if you go ahead and get this book on Amazon, and percentage of proceeds are actually going to nonprofit organizations such as Magen David Adom, Zaka, and JDC. So
That's great.
yes.
Yasha Koyak, that was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
So just stay there, because
Yeah.
I have a few things that I wanted to comment
Yeah.
and ask.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, I think the book is necessary. Okay, because I have a son. He's 10 years old. Okay,
Yeah.
and I look at him and his friends, and I realize that after October 7th, it's very difficult to explain to the kids what's going on and how to react. And I found this as a very valuable tool
Yeah.
to engage them in a conversation in a positive way.
Yeah.
And so, because unfortunately, war has the capacity to taint an entire generation,
Right.
So we are trying to keep them pure and positive. So we thank you all for that contribution, and that, yeah. The first thing that occurred to me, you call it the great Mensch, and I would probably call it the little Mensch, right? Because
Yeah.
I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But then when you go through the reading, you realize now he was a great Mensch.
Yeah.
You know, age, you could be little, you could be big, but being a Mensch is beyond age.
Right.
So I answered that one myself, because
Yeah.
all you have to do is to go through the book to answer that question. Why is great Mensch and not little Mensch? So what was the inspiration for Benny?
So the character Benny himself was actually inspired by my 2.5-year-old nephew, Brooks. His name isn't Benny, but his nickname is Benny. His last name is Benson, so we call him Benny. So he was the inspiration behind the character. I've always prided myself on being this positive and optimistic person, uplifting, inspiring others. And so that kind of inspired the character around Benny, helping others, helping those in the community. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
And have you got any kind of feedback from families on how their children reacted to the book?
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible, honestly. When I started this journey, I did not know what to anticipate. I was hoping and figured the story would resonate, just based on what we've all been through over the last number of months here and what Israel's going through. But the support that I've gotten when I first kind of launched this to the world in December, I was getting, and people started getting the book and reading it to their loved ones. I had obviously family members and friends reach out, but also just random people in the Jewish community all over Canada and the US. I'm not sure if there was anyone outside, maybe in the UK, but Jewish influencers as well were posting it and telling me how special the book was to them, how meaningful it was, and what it meant to their kids and their loved ones. So that was pretty special. The support and the reception that I've gotten for this has been beyond what I anticipated. So
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
That's great. And I have another question, and it's, do you have any advice for people when they read the books to their kids, how to read it, or what to highlight?
that's a good question. I mean, there's no real.
I'm saying this,
Yeah.
sometimes when you go to a fancy restaurant, they
Yeah.
will tell you how to
Yeah.
mix the things, or
Yeah.
to enjoy
Yeah.
the dish even
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
to elevate it.
Yeah.
So that's why there is any advice to elevate
Yeah.
the experience of reading this book with the family.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to tell someone necessarily like how, or if there's a certain way to read through the story. Obviously, it's going to affect people in different ways. Some families, obviously, if those families that maybe aren't in the Jewish community read this story, they won't necessarily see the metaphors or the meanings, the kind of the underlying messages behind it. But and it's just kind of more of like a regular story about a great person and being a good mensch, or a great mensch, I should say. But there's no like specific way to read it. It's kind of up to the families how they want to react or how it affects them and how it's special in their own way.
That's great. And what was the inspiration also for the pictures, for the book?
Yeah, so I actually, to create the illustrations, I used technology and software. I created the story first. So when I actually had the title for The Great Mensch it was January 2023. I didn't know what the storyline was going to be. I just had this idea. I was like, I think I want to make a children's book. And and didn't know what the storyline was going to be yet. And I just put it off to the side. I'm in the startup business world, so I was working on a couple ventures, put this off to the side. And then October 7th happened. Everything that, over the last few months, everything that I was seeing on social media, all the hate, the darkness, as I said, the misinformation and misrepresentation of what our community stands for and what Israel, the people of Israel stand for, that's when the storyline actually came together. And so with that storyline, that's when I started creating the illustrations to make it consistent, obviously, with that. So.
Yeah, it pairs really well with the
Yes.
stories.
And actually, one thing I will add is, so it was close. It was probably, I guess it was early November. I started working on this. Late October, early November. I knew Hanukkah was coming up. The Festival of Lights. The meaning of this book is that light can always shine through darkness. It was like the perfect opportunity to get it out before Hanukkah. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking also, we just read it last week in the Parsha. Mm-hmm. The Ark of the Covenant was protected by here's cherubim, mm-hmm. 2 angels, and the rabbi said that they were 2 children. Mm-hmm. So that's why I believe it's so important to have books like this to encourage the kids mm-hmm. to be the ones who are going to protect Judaism and going to be able to be positive into creating another generation. So
yeah.
We thank you all for this beautiful contribution and amazing tool. And do we have any questions, Leslie? Cantor Leslie always had great questions.
Thank you so much. First of all, Yasher Koach, what a beautiful book. I'm going to take it to my daughter's school, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But I just wondered, from a kid lens, right? Mm-hmm. When you were a kid, were these the types of things that you thought about?
I'm fortunate enough to come from a wonderful family that always, taught me the values of being a good person. And I think I get that from my grandparents, honestly. So it's not something I think I actively thought about, but I think those values were just kind of instilled in me and my siblings from a young age.
You had people in your life to inspire you in that direction.
Exactly, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful way to honor them.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so
you
much
for the
for being with us.
inspiration.
Thank
Good
you.
Shabbos.
Thank you.